Hello everybody and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. My name is Arleth. Israel closed its investigation into the 2024 strike that killed 7 World Central Kitchen aid workers, including a Polish national, deciding that no one would face criminal charges despite finding some failures. Poland, Canada, Australia, and the World Central Kitchen all pushed back hard, with Poland and Australia even summoning Israel's ambassador. And now joining me to discuss the latest development in this issue is former Polish ambassador to Israel, Maciej Kozłowski. Mr. Ambassador, great to have you here in the studio, and thanks for joining us today on World Talks.
Welcome.
Now, looking back, this incident took place 2 years ago. I'd like to get your impression. When this happened and when this broke out, did you believe at the time that this would be the outcome, that Israel would essentially find no one at fault or not enough to push forward with any kind of criminal charges or punishment for this horrific killing of 7 aid workers in Gaza?
Unfortunately, yes. Generally, no army likes to persecute its personnel. That's a universal feature which we see all over the world. Sometimes when the crime is appalling, it happens. It happened in Vietnam, it happened in Afghanistan, but it's very rare. In Israel, especially now, it would be very difficult to continue this investigation because Israel is in a threshold of the crucial elections. The Netanyahu, which was practically ruling Israel for the last 12, 20 years, depends, how you count it, it's losing ground. A recent poll show that he will not be able to continue his ruling, and for him it's not only losing power, but it might even mean losing freedom, as he is facing criminal investigation. So he is looking for the hardline base of his supporters, and probably I would link the closing of this investigation right now, because it could happen a year ago, or it could happen half a year in 27. Just now, before election, I would link these two events, the 27th October election and the announcement of this closing of this investigation.
So very much domestic politics. When something, when a failure comes up like this and is so blatant and it plays out on the world stage, like this incident has, I remember covering it 2 years ago, doesn't that kind of force the government to do something about it, at least to please its international partners? What does that say about the current Israeli government and what it thinks about the perception on Israel? And is this good for Israeli PR?
It's terrible, but you have to look who is governing Israel now. There's a coalition of right-wing, extreme right-wing, and fascist openly. So this kind of a coalition do not care what the world say, and they are pursuing their agenda, which is extreme, and I think that they are not caring about what is good for Israel, but what is good for themselves and for their supporters. And some of their supporters are very radical.
The Polish reaction, is it sufficient? Do you think it's been sufficient up until this point, and including just summoning the ambassador, what was it, last night, to explain these latest actions?
That's what we could do. Practically, there is no other means in diplomacy than the protest. We are in a good company, as it was mentioned, with Canada, Australia, because also Canadian and Australian citizens were killed in this terrible I wouldn't say accident, it's a terrible crime, because it was evidently a crime. But you know, Israel has committed so many war crimes during the last 4 years. I'm not talking about 2 years, I'm talking about 4 years, that it is just one of them. At the same time, today we learned that another organization, the Médecins Sans Frontières, also issued a very strong statement about the killing of their personnel. So it is not an isolated incident. The terrible fact is that whenever the war happens, and especially war in the urbanized territory, this kind of crimes happen. That is a universal fact. We see what's going on in Ukraine. We see where civilians are deliberately attacked. I can believe that it was a mistake, that it was not that they didn't want to kill these people. That was just a misunderstanding on the line of communication. That is, I was following this incident 2 years ago, and it was explained as a miscommunication, that some commanders believed that this convoy was taken over by Hamas, which was not true.
Right.
Nevertheless, 7 people were killed, innocent people who were bringing humanitarian aid, and it's terrible.
Mm-hmm. Right. Obviously, there's no pressure from the United States on the Israeli government in this particular incident. What I've noticed is when U.S. Ambassador Tom Rose came to Poland, he was very vocal in the beginning about wanting to heal the Israeli-Polish relations, to do whatever he could in this part. What does this incident, if it is left unresolved like this, what does this do for the future of Israeli-Polish relations? And is there anything that, say, someone like U.S. Ambassador Rose can do to change it?
Well, I think that Ambassador Rose cannot do anything here, especially that with the position of Trump on a brink before the midterm elections, as coincidentally, the Israeli election and American elections are just a week apart, so it will be a very important week in, I would say, history of the world, because these 2 elections are very crucial. But if, I would say, democratic Israel wins, which is now not probable but very probable, according to the latest poll, the Democratic coalition will win, then, of course, the rebuilding of Polish-Israeli relations, which are on a low, not only because of this accident, because of many other incidents, will be possible to be rebuilt. It will be a long process. I came to Israel when our relation was very bad, but you know, then there was kind of an enthusiasm on both sides, Israeli and Polish, and these relations improved very quickly. Now this process will be much longer and more difficult, but I believe in democratic Israel. I know many decent people in Israel who might now come to power there, and then it is a hope that the policy of Israel, and one of the elements of this policy will be persecuting such incidents, will change.
Right. Okay, well, we'll be looking out for these elections, obviously, and hopefully a good resolution to this horrible incident that took place. Mr. Ambassador Maciej Kozłowski, former ambassador from Poland to Israel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And that concludes this edition of World Talks. Thank you for joining us, and stay with us for more here on TVP World.